Oh, man. You know how there's a time where studios should just let a franchise die? This is one of those times. Terminator Dark Fate. Terminator Dark Fate is directed by Tim Miller, and it is the sixth movie in the Terminator franchise. And in this movie, we follow this like human slash AI. I don't know what exactly to call her, but she's played by Mackenzie Davis. She makes an appearance on Earth, and she is assigned to protect this girl named Danny from a Terminator that is basically made of liquid metal. I mean, I don't really know what to call it, but it's basically the T-1000 except overpowered now, or like even more overpowered than it already was. But yeah, she's supposed to protect Danny from this new Terminator, and then while she's doing that, we get an appearance from Sarah Connor, and yeah, Sarah Connor tells them all about it, and she kind of guides them along the way. And then they meet up with Arnold Schwarzenegger's character, basically a new version of the T-800. And from there, we have our Terminator movie. Alright, so let's get into Terminator Dark Fate. I have to be honest here, I was not looking forward to this movie. I think the Terminator franchise should have ended at 2. I don't really think any of the other Terminator movies are any good at all. Rise of the Machines was mediocre at best. Salvation was pretty bad. Genesis was garbage. One of the worst movies of 2015 for me. I think it was in my top 5 actually, believe it or not. But yeah, and I mean this movie did have like some good things going for it. James Cameron's back to produce, and of course you have Tim Miller, the director of Deadpool, directing this, and there's also Sarah Connor returning. Arnold Schwarzenegger's returning, and supposedly this movie was going to ignore Terminators 3 through 5. So there were some things to be optimistic about for sure. And there are a few good things about this movie that I can say. First of all, the acting for the most part is good, I thought. Linda Hamilton was definitely one of the bigger standouts of the movie. Mackenzie Davis was good for the most part. Talk about her a little bit more later. But yeah, Mackenzie Davis was good for the most part. Sarah Connor was good. The actress that played Danny I thought was fine. Arnold Schwarzenegger, for me, was definitely the best character. He was the one that made me laugh the most. He definitely had some sort of relatability to him, and he was overall pretty good in the movie. And Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's known for being like in all these cheesy, dumb action movies. He was basically the Dwayne Johnson of the 90s. He plays the same character in every movie he's in, pretty much. But his movies are basically like big, cheesy, action, blockbuster type movies, with the exception of Terminator 2, of course. And yeah, like I'll get into the connection with Terminator 2 a little bit more, but the action scenes in this movie, some of them were really well done, I will admit. Some of them were tense, some of them were suspenseful, and again, like the characters themselves, I thought were okay for the most part. The movie also has some good cinematography. I thought the score overall was pretty good as well. And there were some decent things with the Terminators as well. At least a few decent things. I have to be honest here. Even though this movie has like a 70% on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that, it really didn't do anything for me. I didn't like it. I thought it was a lame Terminator movie. First of all, even though I mentioned some of the action sequences were good, others, like the logic in them, is like Fast and Furious type logic. Like, I'm not even kidding. There were some very Fast and Furious type action sequences. They were just so unbelievable and dumb. Speaking of logic, there's almost no logic in this movie. I'll give you an example. There's a part in this movie, within like the first 30 minutes of the movie, where one character is like almost dying practically, and she needs drugs. Another character takes her to this little store where they could get drugs, like these like medicine type drugs, not like crack cocaine or anything like that. This movie is rated R, but yeah, like medicine, I guess you could say. once they get to the store, instead of asking the clerk and the workers for help, what do? They pull a gun out and threaten them with a gun. I'm not kidding. That's the type of logic that is sprayed throughout this movie. Like, why not just ask for help? It's not that hard, is it? At least it shouldn't be. Plus, like, Mackenzie Davis's character, for the most part, I didn't like her. She had quite an attitude on her, and I really didn't like it. And speaking of which, the dialogue in this movie, oh my god. Sometimes the dialogue just completely made me cringe, especially with the attempts at humor, especially when it was coming from someone other than Arnold Schwarzenegger, was just so cringeworthy. Speaking of Arnold Schwarzenegger, the way they handle his character in this movie makes absolutely no sense. And if you've seen the movie, you'll know why. It's hard to talk about that without spoiling it. And speaking of which, like the first 5 minutes of this movie, pretty much everything that you love about the first Terminator and Terminator 2 Judgment Day is completely thrown out the window. It's just thrown out the window. It's like, wait, what? And clearly Sarah Connor was just there to pander to fans' nostalgia. That's really all she was there for, I feel like. She was alright in the movie, but they don't really give her that much to do, to be honest. And also the CGI in this movie, especially with the liquid metal Terminator, at least that's what I'm going to call him, especially with that. Wow. Garbage. Absolute garbage. So, yeah, there's just so many problems with this movie. I don't know how it has a 70% or whatever it's at, because, yeah, there's no logic. Some of the characters are just completely bland and wooden. The actual Terminator himself isn't really given a reason. Like, they never really explain his motivation or reasons. He barely even speaks a word in this movie. He doesn't... It's like you don't understand where he's coming from at all. And I guess it's not really Skynet anymore. It's Legion or something like that. And also, speaking of which, the plot twist in this movie makes absolutely no sense at all. They don't explain it very well. And yeah, it just makes no sense. This whole movie really makes no sense. And it's further proof that this franchise just needs to die. It really does. Because, like, clearly James Cameron's out of ideas for where to take this franchise. Because he's relying so much on past movies that he has nothing new to offer. And yes, I do blame James Cameron mostly for this. Because from what I've heard, he had a lot to do with where the movie was going. Like, he didn't let Tim Miller direct the way Tim Miller wanted to direct it. So, yeah, like, just let the guy direct, James Cameron. Yeah, it's just... And plus, the ending to this movie, like, what was that? What was that? It was just stupid, I thought. While Terminator Dark Fate does have its moments, mainly with Arnold Schwarzenegger's character and with some of the action sequences, but really, other than that, this movie's just proof that this franchise needs to die. They just need to let it go. I don't think this is worse than Genesis or even nearly as bad. I would say it's closer to like Terminator Salvation's level. It's definitely not as good as Rise of the Machines, and that already is not that good of a movie. So, yeah, you can tell how I feel about this. Just stop with the Terminator movies already. Just let the franchise die. So with that being said, I'm going to give Terminator Dark Fate a 34% rotten rating. That is a D+. And there's my review of Terminator Dark Fate. So, have you guys seen it? What did you think about it? Make sure to let me know down in the comments below what you thought of it. And what's your favorite movie in the franchise? Or how would you rank the Terminator movies? For me, T2, The Terminator, everything else. That's how I would do it. Yeah, save me some time from having to do a pointless ranking video. Anyway, but yeah, make sure to subscribe to my channel for more reviews and more content to come in the future. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button and show your support. And yeah, make sure to subscribe to my channel for more videos to come in the future. Until the next video, once again, my name is the California Cougar. And always remember, stay California cool. Peace.